Hello students, now you must have got acquainted with the online learning, that is the e-program started by Sri Gyan Manjari Vidyapith. We already had 2 lectures of Social Science Standard 10. In those 2 lectures, we learnt about chapter number 1, Heritage of India. This is the 3rd lecture of chapter number 1, Heritage of India. Now, let us have a quick review of what we learnt in the previous 2 lectures of chapter number 1. In the first 2 lectures, we learnt about what is heritage. Heritage is whatever we have received from our forefathers or people living before us. So, we divided our heritage into 2 parts: natural heritage and cultural heritage. Natural heritage, again, we divided into 4 features, that is landscapes, rivers, vegetation and wildlife. Then we learnt about the cultural heritage. In that we learnt about ancient India, from where the culture has been developed and that has been passed on from generation to generation. Then we learnt about some of the tribes which came from outside of India for various purposes and reasons and then settled in India. Then we learnt about the different artifacts like the bearded man, etc., which gives us a living proof that a culture had developed beautifully 5,000 years ago, and we have lots and lots of architecture and sculpture belonging to the ancient time, which gives us a very solid proof that a culture developed systematically and was very well passed on from generation to generation. Then we learnt about all those things that are included in cultural heritage, like palaces, buildings, stupas, viharas, chaityas, forts, tombs, gates, even historical places of freedom movement like Sabarmati Ashram, Dandi, Shantiniketan, Delhi, etc. Besides that, we learned that language, script, discovery of many things, all that belongs to the cultural heritage that had been developed and then passed on. Next, we learned about the cultural heritage of Gujarat. In that, places having cultural, legendary and archaeological importance, we learnt about that. Then we learnt about important places of pilgrimage, then places of religion importance, places of social and tourism oriented, tourist places of Jain and Buddhist religion. All that makes us proud, not only about Gujarat but also about India. Next, we learnt about the fairs of Gujarat that are held at many places during the different time of the year. For example, we learnt about the Modera fair, the Shamlaji Thakurji fair, Tarnetar fair, Naklang fair, Wanta fair, Miradatar fair. Fairs that are held at different places during different time of the year. And we have also learned that these fairs, they do not have any restriction of caste, creed, region, religion, language, etc. People from far and wide come to visit these fairs and take part in this fair, to enjoy this fair. So we see a very mutual understanding between different region over here, and people of all communities get together and enjoy this fair that increases the unity. Then we learnt about India, land and people. we started with learning about the primitive men that came into existence simultaneously in India and Eastern South Africa after the evolution of human beings. Primitive men lived for quite a long time in their respective areas, but due to circumstances, they started migrating to different parts of the world. During this migration period, some of the tribes, through the land route, they reached India. So we consider them as foreign tribes which came to India, and remains of many tribes can be found over here now. So we have learnt up till here. Now we are going to learn more about India land and people and the different tribes that came to India and some of the tribes that already existed in India. The first tribe that we are going to learn today is the Negrito tribe, that is the Habsi people. Some historians believe that Negrate or Negroes are the most ancient inhabitants of India. That means many of the researchers were following the belief that human beings, their evolution was complete only in the continent of Africa, and then these same people traveled to different parts of the world and settled over there. That is why some historians believe that the Habsi people or the people of the Negrito tribe, they traveled all the way from Africa to India and then they settled in different parts of India, making them the first inhabitants of India. But modern researchers have proved that human beings evolved and existed simultaneously at two places in the world. One is the Eastern South Africa and the second is the subcontinent of India. So primitive man existed at two places at the same time. So we consider Negrito tribe as a foreign tribe coming from outside of India. They came from Africa via Balochistan to India. Now these are primitive men, so obviously they do not come by sea route because till then their culture had not developed so that they had the skill of making boats. So making boats and reaching India via sea route is out of question or simply an impossible thing. So they must have traveled from East South Africa. If we see the world map, from East South Africa, they traveled all the way up to the river Nile and they started walking along the banks of river Nile and they came on top of the Arabian countries that we have now, crossed the Arabian countries over the top and must have entered into Iraq and then Iran and came up to Indus River, that is the Balochistan area, and must have crossed the Indus River and then entered into India. So this is the land route by which, using which the Negrito people must have come from all the way Africa to the Arabian countries, then to Iraq, then to Iran, present-day Iran, and then present-day Pakistan. They must have reached Balochistan. So this is the land routes that the primitive men, Negrito people, must have followed. Please remember that this tribe was known by many names: Negrito tribe, Habsi people, Negrate, Negroes, or black people. So please remember all these names it will be very useful in answering the questions. So, they came from Africa via Balochistan to India. They were black, that means the color of the skin was black. It is because these people came from the eastern side of the Africa, and that also the South Africa. So South Africa is very near to the equator, and that is why on equator we have direct sun rays falling throughout the year. So because of the direct sunlight received in this area plus lots of humidity, that is moisture, so their skin color black. They were having height of 4 to 5 feet, and the most striking feature is curly hair. So this is the physical description of the Hapsi people or the Negrito people. They were black, their skin color was black, they had a height of 4 to 5 feet, that is an average height, medium built, and they had curly hair. Now let us have a look at the Negrito people or how they look. In this pic you will be able to see a male and a female Negrito. They are having less height, that is an average height of 4 to 5 feet. They have dark wheatish color and they have curly hair. So these Negrito people, they migrated from eastern South Africa to India via Balochistan. Next foreign tribe to come to India is the Australoid tribe, or simply they were called Australoids. People of this tribe came from Southeast Asia. Now Southeast Asia means towards the Far East on the southern side. So Malaysia and the countries beyond that, they are considered among the Southeast Asia. So this tribe came from Southeast Asia. Let us learn about the physical features of this tribe. They were black skin, that means the color of their skin was black, and they had broad head, flat nose, short in height, etc. These are the physical features of the Australoid. This is through which we can identify, with the help of physical features, we can identify which people came from which geographical part of the world. For example, Negrito people, they have a short height and they have a small head. But in comparison, Australoids had a broader head. Their skin color was also dark, that is black. But the Negrito people, we can see that the nose is protruding outside, whereas the Australoid people, they had a flat nose and they also were short in height. When they migrated from Malaysia and today's Malaysia and beyond, they came by foot, that is they used the land route. Then we know from Malaysia they might have migrated to Myanmar, and from Myanmar they migrated into India. Now when these people migrated, there had been lots of development because they stayed at those parts for quite a long time, and then they migrated towards India. So till then they had developed their skill with their intelligence, and in order to survive they needed to improve upon their skills and to make and discover more things. So these people, they were already using clay utensils. That means they knew how to use the mud and clay and dry them in the sun and make clay utensils for serving as, say, dishes, bowls, or just for storing a little amount of water, or storing some juices, etc. So by this time they had developed their skills, and they were already making and using clay utensils, plus they wore cotton cloth. They were wearing cotton cloth. That means they knew how to use cotton, the fiber cotton, and then turning those fiber into threads and making rough cloth out of those threads. So that means evolution was already complete, and development of human being had reached its peak over here, and that is the time that they started migrating towards India, and they knew many skills. That means how to hunt using small and big weapons. Then they needed those weapons to scrap off the meat. Then they used that skin for drying, and then sewing and stitching those leather. So they knew lots of skill. These things they brought to India when they migrated. So we can understand that they contributed a lot in the development of our culture, because they brought with them their own ideas, their own culture, their own tradition, customs, etc. when they came and settled in India. So astroloids' contribution to the culture of India is great. The Aryan who came later on to India called them Nishad. Nisha, in the evening, the darkness of the semi-darkness of the evening, because these people, their skin color was dark, that is dark whitish. So the Aryans who came on later to India, Aryans had a very fair color, white people. So in contrast to them, these people had semi-dark color or whitish color. So the Aryan people called astroloids as Nishad people. Now, a question would arise in your mind that these migrations happened thousands and thousands of years back. Now, how do we come to know that these people migrated from which area of the world and they came to India? We can know about this because the origins of the tribes of Kol, Munda, Khasi, tribes of Assam, the tribes of Nicobar and Myanmar have similarities to the astroloids. Today, similar physical features are seen in those parts of the world, and that similarity we can find in some of the tribes of India also, which suggests that thousands of years ago these people must have migrated from that part of the world to India. In the case of Australoids, they traveled all the way from Southeast Asia and slowly migrated towards India, and finding India quite a fertile land and a prosperous land, and the people were peace living. So they settled over here. They did not go forward, and these people settled over here and added to the culture of India. Now, the origins of the tribes, like the Kol tribe, the Munda tribe. In the Munda tribe is found in quite a large number in the Bihar and Jharkhand area. Then we have, you must have studied in standard 9 about the Garo and Khasi hills in Assam. So that is that Khasi tribe which is found over here, which has similarity of the astroloids tribe, different small tribes of Assam. Then the tribes that are living in Nicobar and Myanmar, they also have similarities with the astroloids. So the contribution of the astroloid people in India cannot be ignored, and development of Indian culture, they helped in the contribution of the development of the Indian culture and civilization, and their contribution is very great and immense. Here we can see few pictures of men and women belonging to the Australoid tribe. Now, these are not sketches drawn, these are original black and white pictures which were taken by, say, Britishers and French, which they had gone to the southeast countries to establish trading relations with them, and slowly these trading relations they converted into uh, establishment of their respective colonies. And at that time these Britishers, French or the Portuguese people who reached over there, they had taken photographs of these people in the tribal areas. So today we have the proof of these people who were living, say, some 500, 600 or even earlier than that. So these are the few pictures of astroloid. We can see that they have dark or semi-dark whitish color and curly hair, broad head and less height. Now let us learn about the tribe which existed in India while all these foreign tribes were coming from outside of India. Now let us learn about the Dravidian tribe which existed in India right from the prehistoric time. Originally, Dravidians belonged to India. That means they were not a foreign tribe which came to India. The Dravidians are considered to be the first habitats of India. They were the direct descendants of Stone Age civilization. That means right from the Stone Age, these people, this Dravidian people or the Dravidian tribe was found in India. That means they were the first hunters and gatherers who lived in different parts of India, especially in the north, in the west and in the central and a little bit in the southern areas. These people existed in the Stone Age civilization and they continued living since then. And that is why they are considered as the creators of Mohenjo-daro. Right from the Stone Age civilization, they were living over there. Slowly, they developed, they evolved, they used their intelligence, and after that, hunters and gatherers period. After that, they found out that few plants gave them grain, and then they kept the seeds and sowed the seeds, and that is how agriculture first started. It has been proved in history that agriculture first started just somewhere above the Indus Valley civilization in just above Balochistan. So these are the areas where the Dravidian people were living since ages. And when they found agriculture, when they discovered that these plants were giving seeds and those seeds can be crushed and made into flour, and that is how they started agriculture. Now when they started agriculture, they had to stay at one place. So that is how the concept of making a house, doing the agriculture, finding different tools, etc., for doing agriculture, for working with the ground, for making a house, you need different. So this is how they slowly evolved, and they started living in small groups. They made small houses, and these are the small clusters of houses which got together and made up a small village. Small village developed into a larger village. So this is how they evolved till the time of Indus Valley civilization. Then came the establishment of big towns. They were controlled by a particular ruler, and there was proper administration. People were doing business, trading, and lots of people, they started living together in fortified towns. That is the Indus Valley civilization. This is the very reason why Dravidians are called the creators of Mohenjo-daro culture. Mohenjo-daro culture is the Indus Valley civilization culture, where Mohenjo-daro is one of the town which was found in the Indus Valley civilization, excavated, and today the world knows it as one of the first civilization that developed in India. Now the tribes which came from north survived with their language and culture, and later on they were only called as Dravidians. Now the primitive men, they were scattered all over India. So the tribes that came from north, they settled in that north and northwest and the western side of India, and that is how they developed the complete Indus Valley civilization. They survived with their language and cultural features, and later on whole of this tribe were simply known as the Dravidians. Dravidians gave the concept of mother as a goddess and father as a god. So they started worshipping their parents. Dravidians started worshipping their parents, and they started considering the father as the god and mother as the goddess. Because when parents died, they needed something for their remembrance. So they must have made a stone, or they must have made a clay idol of their parents, and they started worshipping them. So parents were basically, the mother and father were basically worshipped by the children, and slowly this concept turned into the thought of Parvati and Shiva as mother and father developed. Now everybody must be worshipping small idols. So the male idol got the name of Shiva, and the female idol got the name of Parvati. So this thought developed because they worshipped their father and mother, and slowly they became gods, and these gods got a new name, that is Shiva and Parvati. So by continuing the concept of mother as goddess and father as god, the thought of Parvati and Shiva as mother and father, or as god and goddesses, developed from here. So now they worshipped Parvati as a goddess and Shiva as a god. Now we know these tribal people, the Dravidian people, slowly they started living in the urban areas, that is small towns and bigger towns, etc. But originally they were a tribe living in the jungle. So we know that the tribal people usually they worship the natural elements, and they worship different things belonging to nature. For example, mountains, rivers, they worship the wind, the sun, etc. So these tradition of worshipping nature is the gift of the Dravidians. Today also we follow lots of these customs and traditions that were set up by the Dravidians. For example, we worship the sun god. We have temples for sun god. For example, Sun Temple of Madura is dedicated to sun god. Same way we have Varun Dev, that is the wind god. Then we have Ganga river. We worship Ganga river as Ganga Mata. So that is goddess. So the same elements of nature, nature itself was worshipped by these people, Dravidian people, and that concept was agreed and accepted as a custom and tradition that continues till date. We worship the banyan tree, etc. So these concepts, they continue today also. Now when they are worshipping the nature, different elements of nature, when they are worshipping mother or father, or later on when they started worshipping Shiva and Parvati as god and goddess, now they need something, they need a method for the worshipping. So the tradition of worshipping with dhoop, that is incense stick, deep, that is the lamp, and arti are considered to be the gifts of the Dravidians. Dravidians started worshipping the gods and goddesses and natural elements and nature with the incense stick, deep, and Arti, they started worshipping the gods and goddesses, so that custom and tradition started by the Dravidians are held up today also, and we still continue with that custom and tradition. It has become a part of the religious belief that we have, the religion that we have. Besides, nature and animal worshipping, etc., are their great features. They not only worshipped gods and goddesses, they did not only worship the natural elements, they not only worshipped nature on a whole, but they also worshipped many of the animals. For example, even today, uh, Nandi, guy, that is cow, they are worshipped even today. Lots of animals, as we have learned in wildlife, lots of animals have been given the status of vehicles of gods and goddesses. So this custom and tradition, which was started by them, continues even today. So we consider them as the gifts that the Dravidians have given to the Indian culture. Now, in the Indus Valley civilization, Dravidians had already constructed towns at different places, and they were already living over there. It is at this time that the Aryans arrived from Europe. So, when they came on the banks of river Indus, and they found the Dravidians were already living over here, so naturally there was a mix-up of these two tribes over, peaceful mix-up of these two tribes over here, and the Aryans that came from outside, the original deities of Dravidians. Deities means the gods. Dravidians were already worshipping gods. So, original gods or deities of Dravidians have been accepted by the Aryans. The Aryans accepted they came from a different place, and already in India the Dravidians had already started worshipping different gods. So they accepted the gods that were worshipped by the Dravidians, and in time they re-established them as a god of culture with pace of time. When the Aryans came, the Dravidians were already worshipping some gods. So the Aryans, they did not reject these gods, but they accepted them, and they made part of their culture also, and they re-established these gods in their culture. So there was a very fine mixture of the Aryans and the Dravidians living over here. Under the tremendous influence of the North, Aryan culture was deeply internalized by the Dravidians. Now the Aryans kept coming in a huge number, so there was a dominance of Aryans in the north, and Dravidians were already living. So a very good mix-up of culture started happening, and hence intercaste marriages started taking place. The Aryan and the Dravidians, intercaste marriages started at that time, and so a very fine blend, a very fine mixture of culture started happening at that time. So Aryan culture was deeply internalized by the Dravidians. That means Dravidians too, on their part, accepted the culture that was brought in by the Aryans, and the Aryan culture got internalized. That means became Indian. That means it became the culture of the Dravidians also. Hence, intercaste marriages took place. Dravidians had matriarchal system of family. Matriarchal means where woman is at the head of the family. Usually, we have patriarchal system of family where the eldest male member of the family is the head of the family. Whereas in a matriarchal system of family, usually the eldest woman in the household is the head of the family. Everything is done as per the instructions given by the woman who is the head of the family. So Dravidians, they followed the matriarchal system of family. Dravidians progressed a lot in different crafts and arts like building a boat, raft, weaving, spinning, dyeing, etc. So Dravidians were staying here in this subcontinent of India since the Stone Age, and they had learned lots of arts and craft, and slowly they became expert, and they did more and more innovation and research upon those skills, and they improved themselves. So Dravidians, they had progressed a lot in different kinds of craft and arts, like they were living on the banks of river Indus, so obviously they have to travel. They use the water as a means of travels. So they made rafts and boat to take them from place A to place B in the Indus River. So they had a very good, they learned a very good art of making boat and craft, and they were quite skilled in making a very good boat or a raft. Then they were also experts in weaving, because in India lots of cotton grows. So they learned how to make threads from cotton and how to use those threads in weaving good and fine clothes. This shows that they did not only make textile, but outsiders also used to come to India to buy cloth. They were very good in spinning also. That means spinning the cotton into yarn. Dyeing. Cotton is white, but then they did not use only white textile cloth. They used many colored cloth. That means they used to dye them, that is color the cloth. So they also had discovered how to make natural colors from different elements like plants, trees, or the soil, and they made natural colors and they used to dye the cloth with those colors. So they were very good experts in dyeing the cloth, etc. So they learned lots of arts and craft, and they were quite skilled. Due to the dominance of the Aryans in the north, now the Aryans who came from outside, they kept on coming, and in very large number. So first the Dravidians were the only people living over there in the north, but then Aryans started coming. They were in small number, but as the Aryans kept on coming in large number, Dravidians' number went down, and they were dominated because Aryan race was quite far more advanced than the Dravidians. So their dominance increased in the north, and that forced the Dravidians to leave their places and go towards the south of India. As a result, today we see that they are settled in the southern parts of India. The people in the south, that is the Dravidian people who shifted to the South India and settled there, we can see those people speaking the Dravidian family language like Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, and Malayalam. Tamil of Tamil Nadu, Telugu of Andhra Pradesh, Kannada of Karnataka, and Malayalam of Kerala. These four form the Dravidian family language. So here we see that Aryans, their influx in India started increasing, and they came more and more number, and that pushed the Dravidians to the southern direction of India, and they were shifted over there and settled in the 4 states today, which we know as the Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, and Kerala. Here we can see the physical features of the Dravidian tribe. This picture just tells you how the Dravidian people, they look like. The physical features, they are dark skin colored, dark whitish or dark, and curly hair also. Now we come to another tribe, that is the Mongoloid, which came to India. The people of Mongoloid tribe came to India from North China via Tibet and settled down at North Assam, Sikkim, Bhutan, West Bengal, etc. The people of Mongoloid tribe, they came from North China. North China means, if we see the world map, we have a very big country called Russia, and next to it is another very big country called China. In between these two countries, there is a sandwich country, a very small round-shaped country called Mongolia. So, the tribe from there came to India. That means from today's Mongolia, they entered into today's China, the northern part, and traveled all the way up to what is today Tibet. They climbed to Tibet and then they came into Nepal through the passes in the Himalayas. They entered India on the eastern side, that is what is today Bihar, the west eastern side of Bihar, Bengal, etc. And they settled over there, and some of them went to North Assam, some of them just above West Bengal we have Sikkim, next is Bhutan. So these tribes which came from Mongolia, they came and settled down in the parts of North Assam, Sikkim, Bhutan, West Bengal, etc. They gradually Indianized themselves with passage of time. That means slowly they settled over. When they settled over here, they mixed with the Indians, those who were already living over here, the tribes that were living in India at that time, and they found a very good mixture of culture. Mongoloid people, as they came from outside, they possessed the physical characteristics like yellow complexion, flat face, chubby cheeks, almond-shaped eyes, etc. The Mongoloid people, they were coming right from the North China side, so their physical characteristics, they are quite different from those tribes which were living in India. The Mongoloid people had a yellow complexion. That means their skin color was pale yellow. They had a very flat face, and their cheekbones were quite high and they were quite protruding. So high cheekbones, chubby cheeks. Almond-shaped eyes is a striking physical characteristic of this Mongoloid people. They had yellow complexions, so Mongoloids were also called Kirat. Here in this picture we can see what are the physical features of Mongoloid tribe. You can see the beautiful almond-shaped eyes and the high cheek, because of the high cheekbones. The cheekbones, they are protruding outside, so they have chubby cheeks. Now we have three other tribes that came down from different areas of Central Asia: Alpine, Dinaric, and the Armenoid tribes. The people of these three tribes migrated from Central of Asia. All these three tribes have similarity, and the origin, that is genes of these tribes, are found in a large number in Gujarat, Saurashtra, Maharashtra, Bengal, Orissa, formerly known as Orissa. So these tribes, they came down from the central part of Asia, and today in the central parts of Asia, what we find, the physical features, that physical features we can find in some of the people in Gujarat, Maharashtra, etc. Now we can see in this pic how an alpine female would look like, how a Dinaric looked like, and how an Armenoid person looked like. These are present pictures. So, but we can get a very stark similarity of this kind of many of the people living in Gujarat, the part of Saurashtra, Maharashtra, etc. Now we come to the Aryans. The Nordic Aryans, as their race is called, were the creators of the Aryan civilization in India. After the Dravidians set up the Mohenjo-daro or the Indus Valley civilization, the Aryans came in large number and they settled in the northern and northwest parts of India, and they started Aryan culture in India. So now we come to the time when the people of India were started being called as Hindus. Now Hindus were called Aryans in the ancient time, and the area where they were densely populated was called Aryavrata. As 7 rivers were flowing over there, that region was named as Sapta Sindhu. Now they were already now living on the banks of the river Indus. So these 7 rivers means Chenab, Ravi, Beas, Satluj, Indus, and on the northern side we also have the river Ganga and Yamuna. Whole of this area, that part in the northern side, it makes the Sapta Sindhu area. So now these Aryans were living in the Sapta Sindhu area. The area of Aryavrata extended up to Mithila, that is today's Bihar in the east, and in south it went up to the center of India. In south it spread up to the Vindhyachal during the post-Vedic period. Post-Vedic, after the Vedic period, so whole of the Sapta Sindhu area, it means Indus, Jhelum, Ravi, Beas, Satluj, Ganga, Yamuna, up till Bihar, that is Mithila, and Vindhyas in the center. The whole of this circle, Aryans were living in large number. Aryans were more advanced people than any other contemporary tribes, contemporary living at that same time. All the tribes that were living at that time in India, Aryans were the most advanced people. This vast land was recognized with various names like Bharat Bhumi, Bharat Khand, and Bharatvarsha, etc., after the name of the king Arya Bharat or Bharatkul tribe. So afterwards, after the establishment of the kingdom, the whole of the northern and the northwestern areas, by King Arya Bharat or King Bharat, later on this whole tribe was known as Aryan race was known as Bharatkul. Aryans were nature lovers. They loved and worshipped the trees, the rivers, the mountains, the sun, the wind, and the rain. Naturally, at that time, people were nature lovers because they lived in the nature and they were afraid of the natural elements, nature. So basically, we can see the same similarities in all of the tribes that came to India, that they loved and worshipped the trees, rivers, that is the natural elements of the nature. They had composed hymns, that is recharge, for praying to various natural elements. Of course, we have already discussed that when these people are worshipping, they need a method. So they found out a method, they composed hymns, and then they sung it out loudly, praying to various natural elements. In due course of time, some religious ceremonies started being held, and recitation of Vedas, performing of yagyas, and other activities also started becoming prevalent in India. So, in religious ceremonies, the recitation of Vedas, etc., started being done, and yagyas, different yagyas for different purposes, started being done. They became part of the religious customs and traditions, and other activities were existing in India at that time. With the help of this map, we can know how Indian Aryans, they came from the European side, took the path around about the Caspian Sea, and they reached the present-day Iraq, Iran, and then today's Pakistan, and came to India and spread in the Indian subcontinent. These pictures show us the photographs of how the Aryans look like, and in present day also the Aryan genes that are found starting right from the Eastern Europe inside till Iraq, Iran. So we can see the fair skin, blue or green eyes, and uh, quite a lot of height compared to the Dravidians. So we can see these features of the Aryans. So many tribes like Negrito, Australoid, Dravidian, Aryan, they all came to India. All of these tribes, they had their own culture, tradition, and there was a very fine amalgamation. Amalgamation means quite a good mixture of these tribes with their specific style of living. Harmonious, that is peaceful, happy culture was formed, which gave India a glorious and prosperous heritage. These foreigners and the Indian tribes amalgamated, that means mixed so well with each other in such a way over a long period of time that many of these tribes which came from outside, they lost their individual identity through the intercaste marriage. Outsiders and the local people were greatly influenced by each other's language, the script. Script means the written form of writing, their names, religious beliefs, etc. All of that played a very vital, that means a very crucial and a very important role in Indianizing these foreigners. Indianizing means making them Indian. Since ancient time, a composite, that means quite a compact and quite a very well mixed culture has been created in India. Each aspect of Indian heritage that has made India eye-catching, picturesque means very good looking and attractive. Heritage has brought glory to the nation. India attained a leading position in the world by keeping its rich heritage protected and preserved. So it is the primary and the pious. Pious means holy or moral duty of each and every citizen of India to see that nobody harms the ancient memorials, and also to preserve places having historical importance of values, so that we preserve it, we conserve it, and then it's available also for the next coming generation in the future. So the fundamental duties of Indian citizens that is mentioned in our constitution, our constitution makers made it their job to include the preservation and conservation of the rich and varied heritage that we have, and they have mentioned it in the fundamental duty. It becomes the common duty, the most common duty of each and every Indian citizen, the fundamental duty. So we find the mention of preserving our rich and varied heritage in the constitution, in that in article 51a, in that para number 6, 7 and 9, the following is described as duties to preserve our culture and the cultural heritage. They are given as follows. That is 51a, para 6. To understand the importance of our harmonious culture, prosperity, and to preserve it. It becomes the fundamental duty of each and every citizen is to first understand the importance of the harmonious, that is the very well mixed up culture, peaceful culture, then to understand the prosperity what it has brought us, and so to preserve it. Preserve means to protect it. Para 15a, Article 951a, para 7 says that maintain the forest, tanks, rivers, ponds. Tanks here means the kund that we have in front of the mandirs, etc. Ponds and the wild animals, birds, along with maintaining the natural environment, and to show compassion, that is feelings for the living creatures. It is our fundamental duty as mentioned in the Constitution. Article 51a, para 9 says that the protection of public property and giving up of violence are also included in our cultural heritage. So we must preserve it. We have seen that in this chapter nature has created beautiful landscape. We should maintain the purity, sanctity, and the beauty of these places, considering it to be our moral duty. The Indian culture, it's an outcome of the developments of the people of India over a long period of time. Even nature has generously donated abundant prosperity to India. So, India achieved invaluable opportunities in all the fields for gradual development due to India's peculiar natural structure. As we have seen that India's heritage is the result of the development of the people in India in various fields such as social, economical, political, cultural fields all over the centuries. Now we come to the assignment 3 of the third lecture of chapter number 1. Question number 1, marks weightage is given so that you need to answer the question according to the marks given in the bracket. Write a short note on the Nishad people, carries 3 marks. Question number 2, write in detail about the Dravidian, it carries 4 marks. Write a short note about the Mongoloid tribe, that carries 2 marks. Write in detail about the Aryans, that's quite a long answer, it has 4 marks. How did the foreign tribes get Indianized? That is a short question of 2 marks. So, students, see that you write your details on top of the assignment and submit it in time. Thank you.